Hi. Just the last second adjustments. Yeah, it looks like I have a microphone here. It's not, it's my paintbrush. My name's christinamarialeifsdotter, and I'd like to say welcome to my channel, which is called Swedish Dharma Tarot. And I'm here today to do a reading for Aries. And in the pre-shuffle, 2 cards fell out. One is the Prince of Staves in reverse. Now, this can be a child. The readings are never for children specifically, but of course, we who listen and watch, we have our own children. So possibly it's a son to another Aries, or else this is you. The Prince of Staves represents a young man up to the age of 28, possibly 27, depending on if he lives and works on a 7-year life cycle or 9-year life cycle. So if it's not a child to somebody that's coming up in the reading, then you're a young man, and maybe this reading is for you. There's quite a dramatic card that came up next to it, and it's the 4 of Cups. Now, the 4 of Cups for me is a card of abuse of different sorts. Either that the Prince of Staves here, for example, has been subjected to abuse, or if he himself has problems with abuse in the form of addiction, So it's a little bit heavy duty. We'll see what comes up in the reading afterwards. But before we do that, I'd like to tell you about the oracle cards. And in the path of the soul, you got boundless. And in the yogic path, you got bhakti, devotion, which is really nice. Right, so let's get on with the reading. And while I'm doing that, I'd like to ask you, please, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. And if you think it's suitable for somebody else, then please share it. And also, if you would consider subscribing, that would be excellent. And it would help me a lot. You can also have your own private reading with me, of course. You can get in contact on the email in the description box below. Ta-da. And we'll agree on a day and a time to talk. Usually it's pretty quick. So, and it'll set you back 30 euro. Yeah, 30 euros, $30, 30 pounds, or 300 Swedish krona. There's one exception to the price list, and that's if you happen to come from Africa or India or some other country where that kind of money just isn't accessible for a tarot reading. Don't let that stop you. Get in contact with me anyway, and I'll do my best to help you. All right? Let's see what we've got here. Well, we do have we have a King of Staves. So I'm assuming that this is the person in the reading today, or for the reading today, and that the young man here, the prince, is a child, or your son. I just have to get my bearings here. I see that you're divorced. I also see other children around you. I want to go straight to these cards that fell out in the pre-shuffle and get some clarity on them to see if maybe the case is that your son has a drug problem, or if you have the problem and your son feels very abused. I see a woman in your past. That must be the child's mother. Yeah. There's no drug addiction or alcoholism of your son, but he has fared very, very badly in his relationship with you, Daddy Aries. And I will look closer at you to see why. I think you live far away. I think you live in another country. And this is the big problem. And with different cultures, automatically we get different values, different ideas of what fathership or motherhood is, and how we treat our children, etc. So what you have here, you have a lot of kids, but I think you've returned to your home country for whatever reason, or else you just moved on to a third country. I can't tell properly, but you have a son who's very much like you, and who has suffered by not having you close by. Now, that son is going forward in life into his next life cycle. So he could be turning 21, or maybe only 14. You'll know. He's still studying, and he's very good with his studies. But he misses his dad. He has another man in his life, possibly the partner of his mother, a new partner, or maybe some other relative. I'll see if I can work that one out. Yeah, it's a man who himself also is divorced. So maybe he was a new partner to your wife, divorced wife, and then that marriage has broken up as well. But they tell me here that you aren't, and you never have been, particularly engaged in your family life, which is very sad to see. I also see, unfortunately, it's not so much that you don't care. It has more to do with not knowing what to do. Maybe you yourself has grown up without a father taking proper care of you. Because that's what they say. It's like you just don't know where to start or how to go about it. It is the case that our parents teach us how to be parents, even if they sometimes teach us what not to do. And you have a rather unemotional side. I don't know if that's a side that you draw on to cope. I think it might be. I think it's a coping mechanism, because next to, I'll start from the beginning with that claim. I wanted to say that because you also have a lot of air in you. This is the King of Swords, and he represents Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. And they're great star signs. I love them. I have a lot of Libra and Aquarius in me as well. But that being said, there's a coldness in there. There's a tendency to function intellectually rather than emotionally, which of course can be a troublesome thing when it comes to fatherhood. I think you know and understand that there's something special between you and this son. Yeah. But they talk about you also being, at best, very tired, and at worst, maybe anxious and depressed. So you know that, you know what the case is. The good thing in all of this is that your strength will come back. There's no such thing as a weak Aries, It's Aries are the warriors of the zodiac, and they can fight for whatever they believe is necessary. And yeah, you will do that. I think you will reunite with your son. I want to look closer at your son's next life cycle and see what that's going to entail. Absolutely studies. He's very good at school, this kid. I'm looking at the wrong card now. Yeah. I just had an insight that wasn't, well, for me, it's definitely not a problem, but it is for you. I think your son is homosexual, and I think you know about it, and you've not been able to accept it. and you can't condone it. Because what I see is that there's been an active conflict, that I can see that with the Two of Swords. And here you are, the moon, you're the father. This is next to the new start that your son's going into. He's feeling relieved, but hurt. He's very creative. He's an artist, your son. And the card that landed just on top of the beginnings is the Nine of Staves. And when that's in reverse, it's like saying, it's time now. And then there's a card that shows a lot of doubt, showing that he pendles between what we call in Sweden, between hope and hopelessness, and feeling one second that, oh, it's going to be all right, Dad and I will work this out, only to feel the next second that it will be okay, or that it won't. I don't know what I said first, because I'm all hooked up on this one. Here we have a Princess of Staves. This is what's telling me, this combination of news, not so much the other cards where I see the conflict, but this is an explanation to the conflict. And it's difficult for me now to know if you have a daughter who's homosexual or if you have a son who's homosexual, because they can come up either way. But here comes the Princess also in the reverse, just like the Prince from the beginning. And that would, if you've been unable to accept this, that would explain the abuse. That would explain why your son feels neglected and abused and trodden on. It's not just the fact that you're absent, it's the fact that you don't accept him as the person he is. But, you know, that's our obligation, number one, as parents, is to love and accept our children, however they are. His sexuality doesn't have anything to do with you, actually. It's his own thing. It's very sad to see, because you're both missing out on a really nice relationship. I'm going to take a deep breath. And then I'm going to say, for any of you watching now, if you'd like to pose a question, put them in the description and together with your star sign, and I will do my best to answer the question at the end of the reading. All right? Now, if you want to see this, here's the injustice, and the family turned upside down. So I understand that the rest of the family members don't have any problems accepting this child for who they are. And you will eventually, you will resolve the conflict. That's so brilliant. You don't have to understand. That's not necessary. But we have to accept. We definitely have to accept the people in our lives, especially those that we've created, right? Our children. There's just no getting around it. And there's lots of other things to talk about than his sexuality, actually. I'd recommend you trying to find some nice, interesting conversations to have, apart from the one telling him how much you love him. Yeah, all right. So that's it from the tarot cards. A lot of pollen around. Excuse me. Let's have a look at the oracle cards. And we have Boundless. Beautiful. This is a card without limits. It's eternal and infinite. Either you're just beginning to experience your own unlimited nature, or you're holding yourself back from it. This card asks you to remove any doubts and fears you may have. Move forward in faith, knowing the only limits you will ever experience are the ones you have created for yourself based on your own beliefs. A world without... Hang on, I want to back up. I lost my train of thought. I lost my focus. Move forward in faith, knowing the only limits you will ever experience are the ones you have created for yourself based on your own beliefs. Well, how limiting isn't that, to have a homophobia that limits your relationship with your child? Please, Daddy Aries, get it together. A world without boundaries or limits is opening to you. Anything and everything is possible. Yes, even to love homosexual children. Why should they be worth any less? It's nuts. Our sexuality is such a small part of us. It's important, but we're so much more than our sexuality. And I want to go back again to the fact that a child's sexuality has nothing to do with a parent. It's a very private and personal matter. Yeah. Let's have a look at bhakti, devotion. From the yogic path. You've begun walking on the path of devotion, bhakti yoga. You're devoted to something greater than yourself, your body, your possessions, or your desires. This dedication is to the divine. Now is the time to ask yourself, what does divinity mean to me? When do I feel close to divine? Paths to bhakti yoga include kirtan, which are devotional mantras, meditations and prayers to the gods and goddesses, offering service to those in need, and spending time in nature. The selfless path of bhakti yoga takes you to the greatest ecstasy of all, the bliss of devoting yourself to spirit. Well, that was a wonderful note to end this reading on. Thank you, everybody. And please, I'll repeat again, if you could give me a thumbs up if you like the reading. Subscribe would be fantastic. Share it with somebody if you recognize this situation in the family life of somebody that you know and care about. And that's it today. Thank you for watching. Love and light. Mm.